Wagwan, wagwan. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. I am the DIY Yachty, and in this video today I'm doing a starter replacement on a 2005 Toyota Camry. This is the car here, and this is where the starter is located in the engine bay. This is the starter here. I'll get a pointer on it. Give me a second. And we're gonna get in the process of getting this starter removed from the car. All right, so this is the actual replacement starter that's going in, and the first thing I'm going to do is get my battery removed. This is a 10 millimeter, and getting the positive loosened and the negative. This is the hold down for the battery. It's also a 10 millimeter. So this just hooks in on this side. So once you get that front side loosened, you just you'll be able to unhook this hook from that side over there. Okay, get that battery out of the way. That tray just comes right up. It's a plastic tray. So this is bracket for the air box, the filter box. Two 10 millimeters again. So this air box has to come completely out of the car. You need a space to access the starter. Okay. So basically, I was trying to see, if I can get the starter out without removing the air box, but it would be very hard to do that. So I just went ahead and removed the air box. Okay, what I'm unplugging here is the starter signal wire. This is what powers the starter once the ignition is turned to start the car. And basically, in troubleshooting, a starter, you want to test that wire there. Have somebody turn the ignition, like to start the engine, and you check that wire to see if there's power coming into that wire from, with a test light, from the ignition system. If that wire doesn't power up, then you have an ignition problem. But if the wire powers up and the starter doesn't turn, then you have a starter issue. Okay? So that's pretty much what I did to troubleshoot the starter, to know that the starter needs to be replaced. Here I'm getting the air box removed, and that's 10 millimeter bolts also. 3 in all. And I'll have replacement parts and more useful information in the description box below. Okay, so click on the description box and it will have a link for replacement starter and a lot of other helpful information. So these little clamps, basically they hold the electrical wire in these little clamps here, so I release those in order to get the air box out of there. And you can see that's accumulated some dirt over time, so just want to knock that out of there. Okay, this air cleaner here, sorry, air intake hose, or the plastic side of it, I should remove, because I have to remove that to access or not to access, but to remove the starter. But like I said, I'm doing the removal of the starter, or attempting to do the removal of the starter, and see if I can get it out of there, the shortest way possible. Trying without removing that air duct first of all, but in the end I had to remove the air duct. It was actually in the way of getting that starter out of there. So this is 14 millimeter. And there's two bolts that hold the starter in place, and they're both bolts are 14 millimeter. Okay, bolts out. Now, trying to get the starter removed. And you'll notice it's gonna jam on that air duct. So that starter is actually a bit longer than I thought it would be. Okay, so it's not clearing that air duct, so I have to pull that air duct out of the way. And that's held in place by two 10 millimeter bolts also. Okay, air duct out of the way. The starter just comes right out. Okay, so this is the old starter, and I always like to test the starter when I do. I'm using my jumper cables attached to the battery, ground to the starter body, and what I'll do is I'll use a screwdriver, preferably an old screwdriver, and my power or positive lead. So I'm going to touch the screwdriver to the starter signal and the jumper to the 12 volt connector. Okay, and you can see it's sparking, but no reaction from the starter. So this starter is dead. Okay, no reaction. So I also test the replacement starter, make sure it's in full operation before I install it in the car. Same process, ground to the body of the starter, and that's a working starter. Now you can see where the screwdriver was touching that little lead there, and the jumper cables actually touch the positive lead, or where the positive lead connector connects to. So getting the starter back in the car. Get my starter signal reconnected. Make sure it clicks in place. This is my 12 volt connection. And you want to be careful tightening this connection here, because the actual housing for this connector is plastic. So you don't want to torque down, you just want to snug it. Okay, because you can break this plastic housing here, so just snug. Okay. And you get your cover. Get my intake back in place. Reconnect all hoses that you have disconnected. Air box back in place. These bolts are 10mm bolts again. Get those tightened. This is the bracket for the air box, or air cleaner box. Air filter back in place, and the cover. Make sure that's locked back in place properly. Tighten down. And when your battery is dirty like this, it can actually drain current from your battery. So I want to get all of that oxidation cleaned off the battery. Get it nice and clean like that. And actually good to get your battery terminals cleaned if you have a battery terminal cleaner or a little piece of sandpaper. Just get those terminals cleaned before you reconnect the battery for a good connection. Okay, and you want to clean both the battery post and the connection terminals. So I'm going to get that rehooked in place. Get my 10mm back in place. Make sure the battery is sitting in the right position. Everything back together. What it looks like. I'm gonna do the final test. Running, everything is good to go. We'll see. It's all done there. I am DIY Yachty. If this video was helpful, give me a thumbs up. Next time, bless up.